All right, joining me now here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is Guy Saperstein. Guy is an author, an activist, a retired civil rights attorney, and the former president of the Sierra Club. Guy, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Glad to be here.
All right, so Guy, you recently wrote a piece for Alternet, which is entitled The Deafening Silence of Hillary Clinton. It's about her possible run for president in 2016 and actually how little we know about her stances on many progressive issues. Let me just start out by asking the first question. What exactly prompted you to write this piece on Hillary?
Well, she's marching toward the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party. A large number of people are willing to concede that to her, and there are no other strong candidates yet arisen, and yet she's told us almost nothing about what she stands for, who she would fight for, what she believes in. And I find that very odd, and I think at a minimum we should know what we're buying if we're going to buy her as our representative.
And I find it, interesting. One of the core parts in the article, and actually something that should give progressives pause, is you actually wrote about the Politico had an article about her meeting with a bunch of Wall Street executives and Goldman Sachs. Tell us a little about the meetings that supposedly and speeches that supposedly took place.
Well, there have been a number of reports about those meetings. They were private meetings, but Politico reported, and others have reported, that she gave Wall Street a lot of assurance that she's not going to rock the boat, that in her opinion, we got into this financial mess in 2007-8 together, and we'll get out of it together, not pointing fingers at them for their special role, and not holding them accountable. They, by the way, she got paid $200,000 for each of two speeches for Goldman Sachs, and then she gave speeches to two other hedge funds, presumably, for the same amount of money. So she's getting paid a lot by Wall Street. She's got a lot of Wall Street supporters for her various campaigns, and they're walking away from these meetings reassured. Well, what reassurances is she giving us? I would like to hear what she has to say to the rest of us.
It's a good point. And I right before we went on the air, I actually mentioned, I remember an article you wrote before the 2012 election. And I think probably both you and I are someone who generally agrees that probably the best way to really affect big change is through outside activism and actually putting pressure on politicians through outside activism. But, if the reality is that, the reality in 2012 was that Barack Obama was the candidate. And so prior to the election, the goal of progressives and the role of progressives should have been to try to extract demands. At the time you were talking about Social Security and Medicaid. And if you are someone who doesn't spend a lot of time in the activist world and doing outside activism, the very minimum you should be doing at this moment is, if Hillary is someone who is looking like that she's going to be the nominee, the very minimum as a progressive you should be doing is not really just maybe blindly supporting, but actually trying to push her to the left in every conceivable way you can.
Well, I think the starting point is just to get her to expose who she is and what she believes in and what her positions are. For example, I'm not necessarily attacking her on all these issues because we don't even have the base information to know whether she should be attacked. She could, like, for example, I mentioned in my article, the Keystone Pipeline. She's had plenty of opportunities to take a position on Keystone, but she hasn't. And I would like to know what her position is before I start, attacking her for taking the wrong position.
Well, I mean, again, and there is absolutely no reason. Everyone should know about Keystone, but as the head of the State Department, she was the one who was in charge when all of these studies were going forward, and so there's no way she doesn't know about the project. So it's not like asking her something that she shouldn't have any handle on. No,
she was asked, by the way, just a couple of days ago. She was in Vancouver, and she was asked about her position on Keystone, and she said it would be inappropriate for her to take a position on it while it's still under consideration. Well, that to me is complete nonsense. Look, she's a very important political person. She's the future of she may be the future of the Democratic Party. Keystone is a project that could have great impact in the future on the expansion of fossil fuels. Why can't she take a position on it? I mean, this is something that's of great concern to a large constituency within the Democratic Party, and there's no reason why the fact that she was a former Secretary of State puts her in a position where she can't take a position on it. She should be taking a position on everything. Not. But she uses excuses to duck issues, and we ought to be putting heat on her for that.
I'm talking to Guy Saperstein, author, activist, retired civil rights attorney, former president of the Sierra Club, about his article for Alternet, The Deafening Silence of Hillary Clinton. And when it comes to KXL and overall the environment, and again, you were the former president of the Sierra Club, so I don't have to tell you any of the statistics about the environment, Guy. But I as someone who cares about living on this planet, I know I've been shocked and disappointed with Barack Obama's handling of the environment, and many people believe correctly, scientists, that we need to make immediate action. And the environment getting Hillary on the record, not only for KXL, but even more so what she might do for the environment if she's president, is something that needs to happen now. Give me a little bit of your thoughts on what we need to be asking Hillary, other than just KXL. What are other specific environment things that we should be pressing to get her on record about?
Well, I would like to know more about how deeply committed she is to changing from a fossil fuel economy. There's much in her background to make us worried. She's taken a lot of money from the oil and gas industry. Bill Clinton has taken a lot of money for his presidential library and for his global initiative. They're very cozy with the oil and gas industry. Now, how does that translate into public policy? Is she willing to work to wean us off of fossil fuels? We don't know. All we've ever heard from her is the broadest generalities about the importance of dealing with climate change, but when it comes down to actually making policy decisions, we really have no idea where she stands. I mean, she could be another Barack Obama. Obama has made wonderful, broad statements. He even made it in his second inaugural address about the importance of dealing with climate change. But then when you get right down to his policies, his position is all of the above. And what that translates into is to continuing down the same path of exploiting fossil fuels at a time when we could be backing away from fossil fuels. I mean, Germany, for example, which is not the sunniest country in the world, has now closed down 9 of its 17 nuclear plants and many of its oil-fueled plants because of solar energy that they built. Well, of course, the United States has. Yesterday, I just flew back from Colorado and over the eastern Mojave and Nevada, and well, my God, there's millions of acres of sunny land that could be converted to solar. I mean, the amount of solar energy production we could have is virtually unlimited. So we should be, doing major development programs, which, by the way, would produce millions of jobs. We're not doing that, and she's not telling us, what direction we need to go. The other thing, that neither Obama or Hillary are talking about is jobs. What does Keystone produce? Keystone will produce a couple of thousand temporary jobs, that is for about a year, and then a total of 35 permanent jobs. Yet the Republicans seem to be winning the jobs argument, even though very few jobs will be produced. He should be, and she should be, out on the stump telling people that rather than spending billions of dollars on this dirty pipeline, we should be spending money on developing solar and wind energy, which already has produced hundreds of thousands of jobs. We should be on the side of promoting jobs with wind and solar energy, not dealing with this dirty fuel that produces very few jobs. And the other part of Keystone, of course, is that it has nothing to do with energy independence. That oil is all going to China. And ironically, it's going to fuel China's manufacturing base, and they're going to manufacture products that will then come and compete with American products and increase this huge trade imbalance that we already have. We already have a $500 billion trade deficit every year, and it's going to increase that. So not only is this dirty fuel going to go through the United States, but we're never going to get to use it. And the further irony on this is that it's going to. We have a lot of oil in the United States right now, and by taking some of the oil out of right now, the Keystone oil comes into part of the United States, but it can't get down to Louisiana where they want to refine it. And so we have a lot of oil, and prices are low, and they want to ship a lot of it to China, so they can drive the prices up for oil at the pump in the United States while fueling manufacturing in China. I mean, it's just an absolutely crazy policy decision, but it's a policy decision that's being driven by these big oil and gas companies that have access to Clinton and Obama.